This is a great honor today to be podcast interviewing Robet Gottlander, whose first test in dental school in Sweden was from Dr. Brandmark.
That's correct. The first exam I did was with craniofacial nerve number 11.
And
I still remember it.
He just passed. Was it this year?
He passed away last year, actually.
Last year? So what was he like, the man, the legend?
The man, legend, he was a phenomenal man to be with. His vision was just phenomenal. And he was fun to be with. A little bit challenging at times, but a fantastic individual.
And did you ever work for Nobel?
I spent almost 29 years with Nobel.
And that saw a huge change over the years.
Yeah, when I started,
the company started out with Dr. Brandmark, and then it changed to Nobel Biocare.
It was not a company really when Dr. Brandmark was running this like a research project for a long time. So all the first patients that were treated was not done in the company. It was done at the university, and it was done like a research project. And the end of 1970s, the patent was acquired by a Swedish company called Bofors, and then Bofors Nobel Pharma. But the real actions didn't start until 1982, which was, if you remember, the year of the Toronto conference. Mm-hmm. And that was like the beginning of it. And for me personally, I was supposed to be an orthodontist, and it never happened because I started to work with a PhD on implants and ortho, and this, like Professor Brandmark called it, the project was going to be commercialized, and that's how I ended up being running education for Nobel Pharma in the mid-90s. So this was a journey. When I started in Nobel, we were like, I don't know, it was 7-8 people. There was not an office. We were renting 3 rooms in an office building, and we shared the secretary with the 4 or 5 other startups.
Wow, what a journey.
It was a journey. It was fun.
And now it just recently got bought by one of the largest Danaher. What do you call a company like Danaher? Conglomerate, a holder of a company?
Conglomerate. They have a lot of businesses. They have a lot of dental business as well.
And they picked up Nobel Biocare and Implants Direct.
Yeah, and I think they had Implant Direct for quite some time, and then added Nobel to that.
And then so now you left working.
But I left Nobel before that, So I've been with Henry Schein now for 4.5 years, about a little bit more than 4 years.
And what was your mission coming over to Henry Schein? What did Stan Bergman tell you he wanted you to do?
It's actually a funny story. Is that I known Mr. Bergman for some time. We were at the what this was called, the Dean's Board at NYU. Together, and so I known him a bit, and I always thought, that Schein is it's an interesting company, because within Henry Schein you have all, as I phrase it, all the bits and pieces. Everything is there, but they are not always coordinated, because they're such a big company, and you have so many different organizations within the company. It might not always be obvious, but it's a big organization. So my task was actually to see how can we change the whole thought process. So instead of thinking about all the products, thinking about what's the needs of the dentist, and how can we satisfy that need in, let's say, I shouldn't say the future of dentistry perhaps, but with special focus on CAD/CAM. And CAD/CAM and digital, you can discuss for a week, what's the difference. But really to think about how can we see what are the areas of the part of the treatment of the patient where digital will enhance or improve, or whatever word you use. I know I'm not native English, so dentistry. And how can we then, from the company's point of view, put this together? Not only because, that it's not only about the hardware and technology when you talk about CAD/CAM. It's actually about how do I make this work in my practice.
So name all the digital companies within Schein and what challenges they'll have putting together.
I would say the challenge, we work, we as you see here in this pavilion, that we work very closely with Planmeca Fit. We work with from scanning point of view with Trios. We work with 3M on the TD side. When it comes to cone beams, we work with Danaher, ICAT, we work with Plameca, we work with a number of others as well. We work with several number of milling companies on the laboratory side. We work with several of the printing companies. What we think is that there's a lot of technology available, but it really has to make. We believe in open architecture. That you should have a choice as a dentist to see how does it fit my needs, because depending on what kind of practice you have, you actually have different needs. And there are some systems that fit you better than others, and that's really what we would like to explore together with the business solutions team, how to see what is really is the best solution for that practice, and then to see how can we put this together, how can we educate not only the dentist but the staff. So really, I mean, I can say this since I'm a dentist that there's a lot of enthusiastic dentists coming home to the practice after a weekend program, and not all of these ideas gets implemented in the practice. So we really take an effort to make sure that we are a part of not only the education but also the integration into the practice.
So do you sometimes feel like you bit off more than you could chew, trying to integrate all these digital pieces?
All the time, but that's the challenge. Because I right or wrong, I believe I can chew it, but you cannot do it. You cannot. It's like the joke about how do you eat an elephant, one piece at a time, right? So it's you cannot. You can have the vision that's where you want to go, and I think that has to be fairly clear. But you cannot take the whole bite at one time. I mean, you have to see what are the different pieces, and we've been working on this now for 3-4 years, having a vision to put the pieces together, and this is the first time we show this in the U.S. in this pavilion. It's really because it's not only to put the pieces together, but also to communicate in a way so it's not complicated. Because there's no reason in reality to use technology if the technology doesn't make it better for the professional and the patient. To use technology by itself just because it's new, I mean, then it's just an expense.
Yeah, if it's not solving a problem, then it is a problem.
It is a problem.
Yeah. So I want to ask you something. So you hear all different kinds of numbers for the American market. How many of them have CAD/CAM? You hear anywhere from 8 to 13,000. Some people say 13,000 have bought it, but only 8,000 regularly use it. But do you think the next big wave? Do you think it'll be more digital scanning impressions and having the lab make it, or do you think the piece of the dentist milling out the crown in the office will continue to grow? Because some of us guys think that it just seems easier just to scan the impression and send it to the lab, bypass the impression. I mean, everyone agrees the whole market's going digital as opposed to analog, but
I think it depends a little bit on the practice itself. I do really like that you're saying that you think the market is going digital, because I'm absolutely convinced about it. But I think it depends on the practice and how the setup is. If you are, and what laboratory you work with. I think a lot of this is to do with how is your cooperation with the laboratory. How quickly can you get the crown back? And there's cost factors involved. If you ask patients and you ask them, do you want to come once or twice for a crown? Most people say once.
I disagree.
Okay.
I disagree. This is what I see. If you come in and I ask you, okay, it's Monday morning at 10. You have two options. You can be here 30 minutes, leave with a temporary, come back in 2 weeks for 30 minutes. Or you can stay here and get it all done today in about 2 hours.
Yeah.
In America, 4 out of 5 people say, you know what, it's Monday, it's 10. I'd rather just be done in a half hour, come back in 2 weeks.
But then I think that the answer is actually in a big way, depending on what the patient's going to say.
Right. And I think Americans, I think a lot of people tend to be extremists. Everything's yes, no, up, down, right, left. Where I think in business it's moderation. So I think there's a market for same-day crowns. And I also think there's a big market for we need to just scan this impression, get it to the lab, and free up my assistant in this room
I agree with you.
For another patient.
I agree with you because I think it will come down to to a big extent in the end. What's the patient's view?
Yeah.
Do I want to count twice or do I want to do one visit? So you as a dentist, you might have the opportunity to do both. It might be that you will listen to what the patient is saying, and you would have the option to do both. You would send away some, you're going to produce some, depending on.
And which one of those two pieces do you think is growing faster? The milling same-day crown in the office, or oral scanning for impressions? I mean, in the next 5 to 10 years, what do you think will grow faster?
I really can't say. I think both will grow.
Both will grow, but
both will grow. And what we don't know today is that what we see happening, and the technology is developing, the prices are changing. So I think that it's really hard to say. I think both will grow. Right now, I think both is growing about the same speed. I think how laboratory decides to handle this also has a big factor in it. What's happening with the prices of crowns? There's a lot of unknowns in this prediction.
So I want to ask you, I want to switch back over to your roots. So with your first test being Dr. What do you call him? P.I. Brandmark?
Professor P.I. Brandmark, yeah. But in English you say Brandmark, but in Swedish you say Brånemark.
But in just P. Brandmark? Or?
Yeah, P.I.
And what's the P.I. mean?
Per Ingvar. It was a double name.
Ingvar.
Per Ingvar, yeah.
Okay. When he first came to North America, he would only train oral surgeons or surgeons to place implants. And then so for the first 20 or so years in the United States, it was mostly oral surgeons were placing all the implants and periodontists a little bit. But now some people are saying at 2015 that last year in North America, half the implants were placed by general dentists and half by specialists. Do you agree with those numbers? That it was about half and half?
Right, yeah.
And don't you think a big part of that was because of the CBCT, 3D X-ray, making surgical guides, not being so afraid of where anatomical structures are?
I think that's a part of it, but I also think that the patient selection has a big part of it. That in many new procedures, what I don't know now is that I don't know exactly what kinds of positions different dentists are placing. What you hear when you talk to dentists all the time is that the surgeons are doing most of the, let's say, more challenging cases, and the dentists do a lot of the not so surgically challenging cases. So I think it's surgical guides has some part of it, but if you look upon how I should say not how many, but how few surgical guides that still are being produced, it's talked about a lot, and there will be a lot of them, because that's also let's say a procedure that is just in the beginning.
So what do you think the next big thing is in digital dentistry? Or
no, I think that the next big thing is that it really will be adopted in every office. So that it will really be a part of the offices that not only technology get into all new kinds of technology. That the changes in the dental environment where you have to be more efficient, where you have to do perhaps faster dentistry, that all these tools will help you to do that. I really believe that there will be a very much faster uptake of digital technology in the coming 5 years than what you have seen in the past 5 years.
I agree, especially the young kids coming out of school. They were born with cell phones in their hands.
They're born with cell phones in their hand, and they look upon it in a very, very different way. And I think also that the insurance systems are changing. Patients' demands. Patients want to have treatment faster. There's a lot of things that means, then why shouldn't we use this technology in dentistry when it's used in so many other areas? But what's important is that you really, and when I have this discussion sometimes, is that this doesn't mean that the dentists have to know less. The dentists have to know more.
And why is that?
Because I think you have to know, there's nothing you can take away from your knowledge and how to treat the patient just because you add technology. You still have to know how to prep a tooth. You have to know you need to know the basics. You have to do it right, and then instead of taking, let's say, that kind of using impression material, you do a scan.
So what year was it when you were taking a test with Dr. Brandmark?
1975.
1975, and I just want to remind these young viewers. So I graduated in '87, And so I was in dental school from 83 to 87. And most of these people don't realize, but in 83, the oral surgeons that were placing implants like blades, subperiosteals, they were made fun of in all the dental association dental schools. They were referred to as crazy, butchers, not right in the head. And now at 2015, 30 years later, I mean, implants are just standard of care. Yeah. And now there's people saying that, you shouldn't be doing a 3-unit bridge, a 4-unit bridge, that's not standard of care. And so it's funny, I practiced to where the people doing implants were the crazy ones. And now it's standard of care. Yeah. I mean, did you sense any of that early in your career?
No, it was at that time when I got involved in the beginning, it was not a discussion about what brand of implants. It was like you said, implants does not work.
Yeah.
When I talked to my professor and said that I'm going to start with working with Nobel Fund Professor Bornemark, I was told, Robert, you really, this is, you can't, this really doesn't make sense. Do you think that anyone ever can make a living out of a titanium screw?
I know.
So this is like mid-80s, and now it goes completely different. And I think that there also, in all kind of new technology, there is a piece of information and education that has to go with it. It has to get into society, dental society, and then it takes some time. But we should remember that CAD/CAM has been around for 30 years. It's not new either.
Right.
It's not new either.
And that was a long haul getting going, because when they were starting CAD/CAM in France.
Yeah.
The computers were so slow, and the processors were so slow.
And I was involved very much in that with Procera.
Yeah.
Once upon a time as well, and it was a completely different environment. But CAD/CAM has been around, and it's not new. But I think that now, together with the technology and the materials, we should not forget about the materials. Then it really makes sense to adopt this much faster into the everyday dentistry. So I think that's going to happen. But I think dentistry is phenomenal. It's so fun. I sometimes say I not practice dentistry, but I think I'm the most well-educated dentist not practicing.
The most well-educated dentist not practicing dentistry. And is Schein growing equally in all the continents minus Antarctica? I mean, is North and South America, Africa, Asia, Europe, are they all?
No,
is dentistry doing well across all?
Yeah, we think we are doing well. We're doing well. We are not working in Africa. We are not as big in all markets yet, but we have a good growth in all markets. I mean, dentistry is a good business. I mean, there are challenges. And
but you're not in Africa right now?
Not in Africa.
But North and South America?
We just started in Brazil.
Just started in Brazil?
Yeah. And we have business in Asia as well. Not everywhere, but we are in China and Thailand, Japan.
So when are you going to see Stan Bergman again?
I will see him in about 30 minutes.
You got to tell him a funny story from me before you go. Then I'll let you go. I know you got to go. So I was in Tanzania on a missionary dentistry trip, and of course, several times in my life when I've gone to a missionary dentistry trip, the whole place was donated by Henry Schein. And so, I'm out in the middle of Tanzania, and all of a sudden I got like the nice 6 operatories in Tanzania, and it's an orphanage, and it's all decked out by Schein. So I tell these kids, I said, well, this guy that donated this is Stan Murray. He's my friend. So I got up my YouTube. I said, I want you to all come and say thank you to my friend. And the translation, everything, I said, okay, say thank you. They all started singing happy birthday. And I couldn't. So I posted on YouTube, but it was a couple of years ago. You can find it under Howard Farran on YouTube, but they're all singing happy birthday to Stan, and they're trying to say thank you, because I was telling them that my friend donated, and they were all standing in line, and there was like 6 of us dentists, and we were fixing them all. But just tell Stan that's 3 times in my 20 years I've been in the middle of nowhere, jungle, third world, and there's a complete dental office donated by Stan
I will tell them that, and we try to do well by doing good.
Yeah.
So
well, he's a good man, and so don't tell him thank you. Just start singing happy birthday to him.
We'll do that. Okay.
All right, buddy. Thank you very much.
Bye.